What's up, everybody? Welcome to the team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. So this weekend is Knoxville Regionals, and what we're going to do is we're going to cover some Charlotte Regionals, we're going to cover some Liverpool Regionals, and then between those 2 days, we're going to cover some of the new set, and we'll also talk about something I don't know, pretty interesting on Friday, controversial that people are talking about. But today we're going to talk about Charlotte Regionals, what happened, break it down, and what my thoughts are about the meta. If you don't know, if you haven't paid attention, today's a good day to learn about the new regional. So Charlotte was pretty cool. We had 2,121 masters. I think that's what, but this one says 2,133. I don't know exactly which one it is, but either way, shout out to Justin Basil, always collecting information, resources to check them out. Check out the Twitter and stuff like that. Fantastic person. And yeah, they were able to screen cap the day one deck analysis, which is pretty cool. We see, Traders 2022. We have other decks that's 32%. And you start looking, Charizard, most played deck, 17% with 362 decks. Lost Zone Giratina. And what you have to remember too is Lost Zone had just won the regionals and got second out of regionals. It was still number 2 at 285. Maridon hasn't been doing pretty well, but still at 256. Roaring Moon, which really hasn't seen any kind of increase, at 205. Mew VMAX at 169. The World Championship deck. And Gardevoir dropping all the way down to number 6 on the list, which is surprising because at one point Gardevoir was like the most played deck, right? So pretty close between Mew and Gardevoir. Not pretty much, whatever. Roaring Moon, I think that one's a little surprise. These, not really that surprising. Maridon, kind of surprising, still at 256. 12% in the meta. And so we don't have really like a drastic winner. Like Charizard at 300, sure. But still only 17% of the field. Not crazy at all. I don't think I hit a single Charizard at all in Charlotte. So that's how diverse the meta is. I actually hit 2 Urshifus, which is not anywhere in the top 6. But anyways, that's a different story. But yeah, we look at this, and then we look at day number 2. And you can see that Giratina went to 18%. So Giratina went from 13 to 18%. Once again, proving hey, I wasn't the most played day 1, but I am definitely the best conversion rate. Because you go from, I know it goes 285 to only 40 decks, but going from 13% of the meta to 18% of the meta is a pretty big change. I feel like a whole 5%. I think that's a big deal. Charizard actually goes down by 3%. So the conversion rate on Charizard is not that great right now. So you actually go from 17 to 14%, proving hey, I don't think Charizard, it wasn't that hot today. It didn't do hot that in Charlotte. But the big thing is, look at Maridon, 12%. Maridon, 7%. So has a worse conversion rate than Charizard, which is crazy. So Maridon definitely is probably not the play right now. Definitely seems like it just loses a lot of stuff for some reason. I don't know why. But then you look at Roaring Moon. Roaring Moon went to 9 all the way to 13%. So pretty much almost the same percentage as Lost Zone Giratina, right? Because it went from 13 to 18, so 5%. Roaring Moon went to 9 to 13, so 4%. So just one less percentage under, but still a huge uptick, 4%. So Charizard went down, but Roaring Moon went up. So that's pretty cool. Gardevoir, once again, pretty big increase, went up by 3%, 7 to 10, which is pretty nice. It saved Mew VMAX and went up by 3% as well. I imagine the huge drop off of Charizard is what did it, right? You look at 24 and 24, the exact same. Whoa, both 10 points. So technically this was 3, they're tied. And then Maridon sitting at 7.2%. So that makes up the day 2 analysis. It basically shows hey, Charizard and Maridon didn't do too hot. Lost Zone Giratina has a fantastic conversion rate, same with Roaring Moon. And Gardevoir Mew kind of stayed pretty much almost in the same spot, at the 7%. Did increase a little bit at 3%. I think that does also factor out the other decks. There's 24% of other decks. There's 220 decks. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we need to have 160 decks. So we're missing other decks? So 60. We're still missing 60-ish decks that are others. But still, pretty interesting. So yeah, like I said, so Charlotte, we know that, Giratina battered Charizard down, Roaring Moon up, Gardevoir Mew just a little bit up, and Maridon way down. So yeah, I wouldn't. These 2 decks are definitely somewhat scary to play right now, Charizard and Maridon, just because the conversion rate is not that good. So now let's talk about Charlotte Regional. So we look at top 8, and we see what I said right in my Lost Box And here's Guillotine. Look, there's 2 Lost Box Guillotinas in top 8. And that kind of goes with the conversion rate of 18%. Yeah. Yeah, there's 2 in top 8. There's 1 Roaring Moon. There's 1 Rhydon, 1 Gardevoir, 1 Charizard, and then 1 Lost Box Charizard actually made it to top 8. So that's part of the other. But still, I mean, everything else pretty well representative. Like Charizard, like I said, 18%. So it did pretty good. Making 2 spots out of 10. Very nice. And then everything else at the, 14, 13. So Charizard, it did make 1, right? Didn't make that 1. Caleb didn't make that 1 spot. Roaring Moon didn't make that 1. Gardevoir made that 1. And surprisingly enough, no Mew. Yeah, no Mew at all in top 8. Oh, interesting. So that actually fell off. So Mew fell off, and then Rhydon did make it in number 4. This is actually after everything has played, right? So that's very interesting enough. So we look, and Guillotine lost on box 1 again. So this is back-to-back regionals of Guillotine winning. It's actually back-to-back of Guillotine being in the finals. So that's 3 finals in a row. Pretty much like submitting that like this is the best deck in the format right now, which is pretty interesting. Because usually when you hear the best deck of format, you think it'd be like 20+%, like we saw last year with Lugia. Not the case, because everybody's pretty much scared of playing this deck. I guess that seems pretty hard. I would agree, it's pretty hard. So we look at the Guillotine build, and I mean, it doesn't look too wild to me. It looks pretty like similar stuff. I heard talks of like the Avery being spicy, so Avery being spicy could be a thing, right? I don't know much about Lost Box Guillotine. I haven't particularly played it. And then when you go to PokeStats, you actually can see what we played against. So we go to Charlotte, and we actually can see what Vinny played against. So let's go to standings. If it'll load. Standings, please. There we go. And we can see Vinny, what they played against. And we can see Vinny did not drop a single game at all. With tied to Charizard, tied to Lost Box, tied to Roaring Moon, and tied to Lost Box Giratina. But it beat everything else. You can see he played a plethora of different decks. The big one is this Gardevoir. It hit a bunch of Gardevoirs and just proved like, hey, we just smashed Gardevoir. So I think Gardevoir is like very in a weird spot. I definitely wouldn't be playing Gardevoir, because with Giratina being the best deck, it doesn't seem like it's a good play, right? So let's look at the second place list. I think the second place list, it was just Charizard. It was very kind of like typical Charizard. The 3 different Charmanders. I'm still trying to learn each Charmander what they're used for. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't 100% know. It seems like everybody is playing the Devolution build now too. I think that's definitely the better play than the Gloves build. I do like the Choice Belt, because with Charizard plus Choice Belt, it's 280, which knocks out Giratina if need be. Also, it does hit some interesting numbers with the Charizard EX. Like 180 plus 30 is 210, which can hit like the 200 Pokemon like Raichu and Inteleon V and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Force Seal Stone. It's a pretty safe deck, right? To vacuum, because Lost Box Giratina. And we see, Caleb, how many Lost Box builds? So they actually only played against 2 Lost Zone Giratina, and actually would tied and then lose to them. Wow, interesting. Beat up a bunch of Mews, just destroyed the Mews, said, I don't care about your path to the peak builds and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. Beat up on Gardevoir, lost to Mew, but did beat these other Mews, so beat a bunch of other Mews. So only loss was to Roaring Moon and Mew. Everything else, cakewalk, easy, and that's why I see Charizard at number 2. Let's look at the third place list. Gustavo Watto, fantastic player from LAC. Not LAC. Yes, LAC. I was switching to OCIC in my head, but it's LAC. We see they play Gardevoir, the best Gardevoir player of the day. The Turo was pretty spicy. I like that. The 2 Frost Energy, which was pretty common now. Mirage Step's pretty common too. Screamtail. Plays Zacian V in the list, but no Cape. Some lists playing Cape for the Screamtail and stuff like that. We see that they did lose to Lost Box, beat Lost Box, lost to Charizard, which was Caleb's list, which we talked about a second ago. Lost to Italian Urshifu, and lost to Stall. I imagine Stall is pretty bad, because they can just bring up a Greninja. You do have the Turo, but you can only do that once. There's no Pal Pad, so you can't get it back, unfortunately. But still, very cool, very cool. Like a very straightforward Gardevoir deck. Number 3, Ryan had a pretty interesting Rhydon deck, and let's go. Oh, no, wrong button. We look at this. We'll look at this real quick. So we look at Ryan's list. We see that there's no Raikou in this list, which is pretty interesting. There's no Raikou. I did play one Drapion for the Mew matchup. I guess Mew is that bad that they want to play Drapion in there. Play 2 Town Store and 1 Beach Core, which is something we don't see either. And the 3 XP share, just keeping all the energies on the field. And Raichu, just, 2 Raichu, 2 Iron Hands. Iron Hands is good for the Lost Box matchup, which is good against like the Tina and stuff like that. And then Raichu is good, just gets Charizard, which covers like your pretty big 2 matchups. And then Miraidon just in there because Miraidon does the extra damage, stuff like that. If we look at Ryan Miller's play, they did lose a Charizard, but they actually beat 2 of the Charizard. Looks like they went 3-3 against Charizard. So 1, 2, 3, and then lost 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So the bad matchup is still Charizard, right? The Raichu does help out, I imagine, some, but still pretty hard to deal with. Once they start getting them swinging, everything else is pretty easy. Like I said, Gardevoir is easy because you have the 2 Iron Hands, which is pretty nice. Did lose to the Mirror, but then beat everything else pretty easily, I imagine. They did beat Atelier Urshifu, which is pretty cool to see. So yeah, hit some great matchups, did great. And then, like I said, did beat Charizard. I had to like rewatch. Did Ryan and Caleb play on the stream? I don't think so. I can't remember. But either way, did lose to Charizard. Let's see. Alex Shemansky. Oh, Alex Shemansky. This was the one that streamed against Ryan Miller. Yeah, that's what it was. Oh, we actually talked about this, right? Yeah, we talked about Ryan Miller. Yeah, so that's the list we just saw. Alex Shemansky brought a Lost Box Charizard build. They definitely dead drew. It probably showed that they probably had the best deck of the weekend. I think it was really good. It just like unfortunately like didn't do so hot in top 4, and then like the catcher flip at the end to win the game. Oh, we didn't talk about that either. Ryan's list played 2 catchers, which is something we have never seen before. If you look, it did play 2 catchers, so that's pretty spicy. So 2 catchers, pretty cool. But anyway, Alex's list. Just a typical kind of like Lost Box Charizard deck, but with like 2 technical machines, which is pretty interesting. Like I said, it seems like it's just the best deck. Sableye's good for like Guardy and stuff like that. Zard is good, just like 250 and stuff like that. You can set some knockouts on Pran and Sableye. Jirachi picked your bench, Drapion for the Mew matchup. Paper, it just seemed like it did really well, right? Just did much stuff and did really good. It just had a very close matchup, and the double Iron Hands definitely helped out a lot in that matchup. We can see that Alex did beat multiple Miraidons. He did beat Miraidon, and then beat him Miraidon, but unfortunately will lose to this Miraidon right here. But they lost until Urshifu, but they beat everything else. So like this could be a sleeper pick. I think could be a sleeper deck for Knoxville. Isaiah playing the same deck he's pretty much been playing, which is the Lost Box Giratina. Let's see. Isaiah did lose to Guardy. I think it did go to game 3. And it's still pretty close. But it looks like a typical Lost Box Giratina deck. 2 Gear, 4 Colress, 2 Boss, 2 Roxanne. Kind of catcher. Only 3 Path Speaks, so let's play 4. 4, 3, 2. I know some let's play 3 Water. This list plays Switch and Switch Cart. I think the list we saw earlier only played 4 Switch Cart and no Switch. I could be wrong, but I think that was the case. It played Spirit Tomb. I think the list played Drapion or didn't play any kind of counter. So it's always interesting to see what whoa. Remind me tomorrow. It's always interesting that the 1 or 2 different tech cards for Giratina. So that's pretty cool. What's to say outside of that? I don't know. They lost to Gustavo, and that was it. Like that was only a loss. Everything else did pretty good. So not much to say there. I don't know much about Lost Box Giratina. I've never played it. I don't really play to. I think Ross had the outside of Alex. I think Ross had the spicy deck. It is a Roaring Moon deck, but instead of like going like heavy Sadas, like playing 4 of these, play like Research and Iona and Judge to kind of disrupt, but also make sure that you still can set up with like the Sada and Dark Patch and Energy Switch and stuff like that. So I think this is pretty much the most interesting build. They play Morpeko as well too. Some of us aren't playing Morpeko. Let's look at Ross's matchups right here. So we'll lose to Alex Shemansky playing Lost Box, which I think is pretty hard. Probably intentionally ID'd with Russell, and then lost, unfortunately, top 8 to Charizard, which I think the matchup is still okay. You can see that he did beat 1, 2, 3 of the Charizards, and then tied another one. So the matchup is favorable. I just don't know how it played out, especially with like the emergency jellies. I think more emergency jellies is probably better because it does protect your roaring moon and stuff like that. Because like ancient boost energy capsule can't be like vacuumed off, while jelly can't. So it protects you from like the Charmander knockouts and stuff like that, which is pretty interesting. I don't know how the matchup went. Obviously, it was not on stream, so we don't know how it played out. But still, I think Ross had a pretty interesting pretty much a cool Roaring Moon deck. And then number 8 was Lost Box Giratina. So another Lost Box. So 3 Giratinas in top 8. My lord, I just realized that. This one played the Drapion, Avery, which we saw Avery in the build. 3 switch, 2 switch card. And like I said, it's only like minor things that pretty much are different. And then look at Russell. Did lose to Vinny playing Lost Box Tina, so we had a mirror match. Would lose to Mew, beat a Mew, and then tied these two, and then beat everything else. Beat a Goldango, which is pretty cool. Goldango in day 2. But yeah, I mean, it just proves that like, hey, like Giratina is still like probably the best deck, right? It's probably the best deck. Like 3 tournaments in a row, it got second, first. We saw the Charizard did drop down. Like day 1 to day 2, Roaring Moon stocks went up. Mew and Gardevoir went up just a little bit. Pretty much, it's just like this switched over and these two switched. So it's interesting. It's interesting to talk about. But yeah, there we go. There's Charlotte Regionals. Congratulations to Vinny for getting first place with Giratina Lost Box. Like I said, 3 Lost Box Giratinas in top 8. That's insane. Showing, hey, it's pretty up there. You can see right here as well on Limitless. You kind of see more of a breakdown. There was 40 Giratina, 32 Charizard, 27 Roaring Moon, 25 Gardevoir, 24 Mewgenicide. Lost on Box was 17. Miraidon was 16. There's 8 Goldangos, or 7 Goldangos. 8 Snorlax stalls. Interesting. RCS had 6, Inday had 6, Inteleon 6. This 1 Zork and 1 Cloth Electrode. Interesting. But yeah, there we go, guys. There is the Charlotte Regionals. Wednesday we'll talk about Liverpool Regionals. Pretty much do the same thing. Go over the day 1, day 2 kind of meta shares. Talk about the top 8 lists and stuff like that. And just, kind of just break down the competition and talk about the decks and stuff like that. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Charlotte was interesting. I guess interesting enough just to see the same deck win. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Alrighty, bye.